Hello and welcome back to another episode of She Invests podcast. I am your host, Allie Fugit.
And I'm your host, Carrie Douglas.
And we are She Invests. And today we have a very special guest. We are super excited about this interview because in our previous interviews, we have done everybody from the same side that Carrie and I are on the investing relationship on. So you guys have seen from us, talking about finding the deals, going through, trying to source funding, and all the ins and outs of the side of the deal for the investors that are maybe not even putting the capital in. So today we have a very special guest on, and I'm going to let Carrie introduce her, but she's going to give us some insight on the other side of investing. And so we're very excited because this is very eye-opening and can be great for information on how you can better, show yourself to investors. And so without further ado, let's jump into it.
Yes. So today we will be welcoming Victoria Pryor. She is semi-retired from corporate America as of 2016. She's held various accounting and finance positions. Her background in accounting has helped her analyze potential opportunities in the real estate arena. Several years ago, she started private money lending, which also led her to invest in apartments, self-storage facilities, office buildings, hotels, resorts, and various other businesses. She currently lives in the Dallas, Texas area, but loves traveling to other parts of the U.S. and the world. She's a CPA/CIA and has a Master's of International Management degree from Thunderbird. So welcome, Victoria. We're so excited to have you, and I can't wait to dive into some of these questions with you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Absolutely. Welcome. All right. Well, Victoria, one of the first questions we'd love to ask you is currently how many investment properties or doors do you currently have? And because we know you have a diversified portfolio. So, can you tell us a little bit about that?
I currently am all over the board. Right now I'm in about 20 different apartment deals. And quite frankly, I used to track how many doors that was. And I stopped because then when I started investing in self-storage, it's like, well, do I add those doors or not? Because it's a little bit different. So I'm in about 20 different apartment deals, and most of the deals are, at least 100 units.
Okay.
And I think the most, there's a 2 apartment deal, which is 537. So I don't even know how many doors that is, quite frankly.
Yeah. So you are a partial investor alongside other investors on those?
Yeah. Well, yes. Everything is a mixed bag with me. There are many, I would say the majority of the apartment deals that I'm in, I am a limited partner where I'm a passive investor. But there are a couple where I'm either a KP or a co-GP.
Okay.
So that's just a handful. And I've gone a full cycle on a couple of those. So
awesome.
And then with
a variety.
Yep. Yeah, it is. It's helping me see the entire picture.
Mm-hmm.
And then with regard to self-storage, I think there's only one deal where I'm only a limited partner. All the other ones, I'm a general partner in some way. Maybe I raise capital for the deal. I co-sign on loans. I provided the earnest money, or a combination of 1, 2, or 3 of the above.
Right.
And some of those, actually, I won't tout a deal unless I invest in it myself. So.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely. That's so cool. I always love hearing about all the different things you have going on, Victoria, because you're just kind of like, whatever makes money makes sense, right? And
That's right.
and so I love it. So can you tell us a little bit about how, investing in these different deals, how has investing in real estate in general impacted your life?
For me, it's been a very positive impact. And it's more from a personal side, because when I graduated from college, I went straight into corporate America, and I was I got, I don't know, railroaded. I don't know what the right word is, into that mindset of corporate America is the end all be all. And, I knew some people who went into business for themselves, but it was one or the other. It was never both. And then when I did just start investing in real estate, at first it was just a side gig, like a hobby. But then as it started growing, I thought, you know what? I knew the company I worked for. I knew the day would come where either it would be their decision or my decision to leave. And so I started thinking more about growing the real estate business to replace my W-2 job. And as soon as that light bulb went off, that was the direction I was going to go, I was no longer tied to that W-2 corporate America mindset. And that was very freeing, because I would do what I wanted to do, and the successes that I earned them. I didn't have somebody tell me, oh, well, yeah, you did 90% right, but oh, gee, this 10% you did wrong. Because that's what I realized about one thing I really didn't like about corporate America. You could be great at your job, but they would always find something wrong that, it was an area of improvement. It's like, well, that's not an area that interested me, that I wanted to do. So why are you dinging me for something that, wasn't important to me?
Yeah.
So that's another reason why moving to real estate, where it became all my decision, and they were all my successes, but they were also my failures. So it was mentally freeing, and I can't think of a better word, to break free of the old school mindsets and just grow as much as I want to grow and succeed as much as I want to succeed. So I hope I explained that well, but it was a big, Carrie mentioned me being semi-retired. I actually, several years ago, after I invested all my money and I needed more money and I needed a loan, and nobody would give me a loan because I didn't have a W-2 job, I did go back to work. And just going to work, and I just chose the first thing, and it wasn't a good decision. But going into work thinking, you know what, I don't need this job. Mm-hmm. I don't need you other than the W-2 income, but I got the loan so I could leave.
Right.
So after I did that, it is the gaining confidence in myself, my abilities, meeting different people. It's just opened up a whole new world, and it has really helped me grow as a person.
Yeah. And how freeing to not feel like you have the handcuffs of that you're required to be there every day. Like you can pull into the parking lot and choose whether to go inside.
There you go. Yeah. That's exactly
right. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's just like that freedom of choice, right? Like you finally get the freedom of choice to live the life that you want to live. And like, that's amazing. And I do, Victoria, because I do know a little bit more about you. You invest a lot with your family too. So, and I honestly, I love that about you and about the way that you guys do things, that you have a group of like-minded people that are also family around you, right? That are also investors and do this. So can you speak to how, has that added to your growth in this type of profession? Or do you think that's made a difference on the way that you invest? Can you speak to that a little bit?
Okay, well, yeah, first of all, my family is my brother and sister. And my sister had not yet come over to this dark side yet. So over the last, I would say 5 years, she's been slowly coming in. And I think now she totally gets it. I think maybe before she maybe didn't understand what I was talking about, but now it's like, oh, and now she'll call me. And I'm thinking, she's calling me about doing a deal with this or this because of the depreciation or not. I'm like, oh, I've converted her. So that's been I'm glad for that, and I'm glad for her. But yeah, she has helped me a lot, and I've brought her in as a partner to Lone Wolf Lending. And I appreciate all that she has done to help me, and just having somebody else to bounce some ideas and situations off of. Now, my brother, he's been doing real estate for about just over 10 years, but the real estate activities that he's been involved in are different than me. And, he does the land development, and he would buy properties down in Austin, 13 years ago. They would buy an old house on a lot, raise it, and rebuild like a nice duplex or whatever, and resell it. So other than investing with him, that's not something that I've done on my personal journey, other than invest with him. So even though we're all doing real estate, it's all a little bit different, but it is good because you get a different perspective, because I'm not right 100% of the time. Or sometimes I'm stuck on a problem and my sister will make a comment. It's like, why didn't I think about that? Because I should have thought about that, but I'm so glad that she picked it up to do that. So I'm very grateful to have both of them, because sometimes too, if I do a private money loan and let's say I'm short maybe $20,000, get on the phone, Jennifer, do you have $20,000 you can loan me?
Yeah, no, I love that. But it's also nice that you have somebody to conversate with, because a lot of times, and we've had this conversation a lot on the show, that this can be a very lonely journey.
Exactly.
Unless you have someone that's willing to have conversations, because like we've spoke about, it's not a great topic at dinner, and it's not a great topic at the park with your kids, but to have family that you can actually sit down and they are in it, so they enjoy the conversation. It does make it less lonely.
That's absolutely. And when I first started investing in real estate, like 20 years ago, I was doing it with my father, but then I was getting all these different ideas, and I would go to, I have a girlfriend who's a single mother of 2, and I would say to her, you should buy, while you're employed, you should go and buy a condo and rent it out. And I said, by the time your kids are in college, 15 years from now, that rental income can help defray their cost of college. And they're like, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. And I said this to a guy friend of mine who had 2 kids, but he was married, 2 kids. I said the same thing. He was like, oh, no. And I would put out feelers to people about real estate investing, and I would test the waters. And I would say 99% of the time I was met with a cold, no way. So yeah, it is very exciting to talk to like-minded people who love real estate as much as I do.
Yeah, awesome.
That it is.
That's why we're here.
Yeah,
I'm glad to be here too.
We needed a healthy outlet for that as well. So
yeah,
and that's what's exciting about going to different conferences and things, is that I can sit there and talk to people, and my family, my friends, people who have only met me once or twice, they said I become a different person when I start talking about real estate. And they always use the same words, that I light up, but I can't help it. Yeah. And I realize that we're on a time crunch and you need to cut me off. It won't hurt my feelings, because I get so excited about this. It's a topic I love, so I could talk all day.
No, we love it. No, we would not cut you off. I love that too, because it's the same. I think Carrie and I've talked about, we just got back from a small conference with a group that we were in Boston, and it's like a little family reunion when you all get into the room, and we could literally sit and talk to each other for hours about about everything we have going on, running things by each other, and just life in general. But saying we light up when we talk about it, and we get so excited about the different ways you can structure deals, and the different ways that you just like what you're talking about. I've tried presenting things to other people, and they're like, no, that's not happening. Yeah. So I get it.
I'm excited to ask you a little bit about what you look for. So as investors, we typically have a buy box, like the criteria for what type of deal we're looking to buy. And so you, as someone who's, doing private money lending or investing on the other side, you probably have some criteria as well for what you're looking for in either the project or in the person who's running that project. So can you tell us a little bit about your buy box, if you will, like what you would look for?
Well, the first thing I do is I look at the location. There are specific locations I definitely won't and will never invest in.
Okay.
Because I don't think like those states are investor friendly.
That makes sense.
So that's one thing. And somebody might bring me a deal like in a state that I would never have considered, but I start thinking about the state. I always look at it as if I needed to take that deal over, if I needed to oust the GP for whatever reason, could I go in and take over that deal, and could I believe in it where I could turn it around and make it successful if it weren't? So that's kind of, I guess, the question in the back of my mind. So the first thing is location, and then after that, I look at who's putting the deal together, because there are people who have been in the business for years, but just because they're in the business doesn't necessarily mean that they're really successful at it. And so I try and do a little bit of research on the person, and I talk to the person, and I ask them questions about the property, about what they want to do. And I can kind of tell just by the way that they answer questions if they know what they're talking about or not. And then I also ask them how many other deals similar to this have they done.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a combination of a lot of things. The other thing too is, like, especially here, I'm in the Dallas area, and everybody and their mother seems to be in the Dallas area, and everybody is touting the same deal where, we're buying for this much per door and the return is going to be 8%. Well, they always present the best case scenario, and if it's 8%, does that really mean it's a 5%? And then I think, well, if I invest this much money with you, and I'm maybe going to get 5%, why won't I do a private money deal and get 12 or more percent? So it depends on so many different things, and the people are a big part of it in addition to the location. So, and it's also partly a gut feel. If I think that this is going to be a good deal or not, it's a gut feel, gut instinct reaction as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so if you were to give advice to someone who is going to be looking for private money for a project or a deal, what advice would you have to that person, if it's the GP or whatever it is? What advice would you have for them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first thing I would say is private money is not cheap. And if you're serious about wanting me to loan you money, you have to be prepared to lose that property, because I'm going to come after you if you don't pay. And I have a very good attorney behind me where I can say that with confidence. So I would say that, it's not cheap, and you have to be prepared to lose the property if something goes wrong. So you as the person asking for money, you have to have confidence in yourself, but also you have to convey that you have confidence to me. You have to convince me that you can do, like, if you need the money for a fix and flip of a house, tell me why that I should believe you that you can do this within, get the work done within 4 months and sell it within 2 more months after that, so 6 months. Tell me why I should believe you, because I've had people with no experience that are getting into real estate and coming to me for money for their very first deal. It's like, why do you think I would loan you like $150,000 or $200,000 to do this? Because if I said to you, what do you need to do to rehab this house? And if you can't answer that question, obviously I'm not going to do it.
Right.
So I would say that before you go to somebody to ask for private money, I would say somehow do a flip or two or do some business on your own, so that when you go to these people,
you have a proven track record.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you can also go to hard money lenders and they'll loan you the money, but they can be not very nice people. So you have to be prepared to deal with that. So
I think there's a little bit of that, like just like what you said, like if somebody can go out and do it on their own, it shows that they're also willing to lose and fail on their own first. And I think that everybody, when they're starting out, like you have got to be open to that failure, right? And be
Yes.
open to put your own money, your own time, everything on the line and take that risk.
Yes.
Skin in the game.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to be able to do that a couple of times before you can like really develop a really good relationship with somebody like yourself, Victoria, that like may not know you and that you can have that track record. But what about advice for people that are maybe doing this, that like in terms of communication, what do you look for in terms of communication on deals and the way that, updates, things like that?
That is my number one. It's a pet peeve if there is no communication. I was just having a conversation with somebody last night, somebody I loan money to, and he's paying me back next week on Monday. And I actually said to him, I love working with him because he is so good at communicating. I said, I've got these other clients, and I've been lending to them for 5 years. I don't even know how many deals I've done with them. But July, they didn't make their payment. And I'm calling them, I'm texting them, I'm emailing them, I'm going to them on Facebook. What's the deal? As far as I know, they've left the country with my money. I don't know. That's where my mind goes when you don't let me know. If you're just saying, I'm waiting for this payment to come in before I can pay you, that's all I need to know.
So I imagine you'd like to know before the payment's late if there's there might be an issue.
Yeah. Because there are people that pay on the 1st. There are people who pay on the 6th, even though it's due on the 5th. So I try and you kind of learn people's habits, especially the repeat people. And the thing I said last night to this guy was, when I was in corporate America, nobody liked getting up and say, hey, I made a mistake. I made a mistake in this spreadsheet. I forgot to file something. Nobody likes doing that. But I think it takes a bigger person to go up and say, guess what? I made a mistake. My payment's going to be late. Here's the reason, but here's the plan of action. And I think the people hearing on the receiving side of that communication, they're like, oh, okay, I'm good with that. They're not going to what are they going to do? If they're a professional, they're going to say, okay, I appreciate you telling me. I see the plan of action. Let's go from here. But when you don't communicate, when you try and hide it, that's the part that just drives me nuts. And these people that are continuously paying late and the ones that didn't communicate, every month, or well, not every month, but every time they bring me a new deal, I seriously think to myself, do I want to do that? Should I give them one more chance? Or should I just work with somebody who is better at communicating, more responsible, more, easier to work with? that's me. But yeah, communication is my number one thing.
Well, and I'm sure there's a pride piece, right? Like you said, nobody wants to admit when they're having a difficult time. But I think that when they can, it shows integrity, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
good.
Yeah. Yeah, we spoke about it before, but the I mean, we've spoken a lot, Victoria, and we have, worked together some, and that's a big key for us too, because we never want to feel like we're hiding anything. And so we've not, I don't think it's on a deal that we worked with you, but a deal we worked with a different investor, like something came up, and I spoke about it on our previous episode that, we're going through, like, we had a hard money lender on there as well as another investor. And the hard money lender, just as you described, is hard to work with. And they cannot be very nice. And like currently we're going through something where they've illegally foreclosed on the property, which has caused a whole, now we have legality issues against them. Now we having problems with the listing. And but on our side of that, it was like, okay, like once we collected the information, it was like we had to be the bigger people, and we had to contact our investors, and we had to have that
Yep.
conversation. And our investors were so receiving of that information.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate you being honest. We
Yep.
appreciate you being open. We gave them, just like you said, the plan of action of this is where we need to go. And this is our plan to get your money back. Because like we said before, like we'll go flip burgers to like repay you your money before we, get any money out of a deal before ourselves, because your money is more important and that relationship is more important to us
Mm-hmm.
than anything else. So I think that on our side too, when we're looking for an investor that's just like you, that's going to be understanding and receiving that information, of if we're open and honest with what we're going through, and that you're going to be willing to work with us to obviously maintain the relationship and maintain the deal. So I love that communication is top priority of yours as well.
Yes.
So leading in, Victoria, this is one of Carrie's favorite questions. You've got a lot of investment opportunities, a lot of, diversified opportunities that you're working on. So how often do you look at and track your personal financial statement?
Well, on a couple of on the bigger apartment deals and most of the self-storage deals that I'm invested on, I co-signed on the loan. Mm-hmm. So the different banks require that I provide financial statements periodically throughout the year. So it seems like I'm at least updating it quarterly, but because of the timing of the different loans, it seems like it's more often than that. So I do try and update it every month, and probably when I go 2 months, that's probably a long time between updating it. And that's mostly because of the requirements from the bank. But also, next week, actually, I'm supposed to have 3 loans pay back. So because those are 3 big events happening in the same time, after I receive the 3rd loan payback, I'll probably go and refresh my personal financial statement then, because big amounts of money, I don't want them sitting out there thinking that it's still out there when I actually have the cash in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And what metrics are you tracking, and what are your goals in those specific areas that you're tracking?
Well, I do keep a spreadsheet on each investment and how much dividends they pay, either monthly, quarterly, however often they pay it. And then I go back and I look at the OM or the documents that they originally presented, saying, oh, we're going to do a 12% return. And if it's really only maybe 4%, then then I have a phone conversation with that person saying, what's going on. Because getting back to the communication thing, when things don't go right, people tend to be quiet. So I do try and call them and ask them what's going on. why do you think we haven't met the goals that we had set in the beginning? So I do look at that. I look at it, on an annual basis. So it's kind of comparing apples to apples. And then the same thing with properties where there is no distribution. It's like, oh my gosh, I have that same conversation. What's going on? Do you think we'll get one? Why? And if they don't have a plan, I say, you should just sell it.
Mm-hmm.
Cut it, everybody's losses now, and move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So I love that you're probably the first person we've got on that actually updates like so often. So that's very cool, and I love that, and I really like Carrie and I have spoke like we should update ours way more than what we do, but it's currently been at like usually purchases, right? Like purchases, big life events.
Or one, that's when I update it, right? I wish I did it a bit more often, but I mean, we're not here to just talk about like doing deals to do deals. Like everybody has a goal, right? Is it a net worth goal? Is it a monthly income goal? It's like, what is it, right? And so if we're not paying attention to how we're making progress, we don't know if we're successful, right? So it's great that you're on top of that so frequently. Good for you.
Yeah. So we're gonna get to one of the questions that we ask everyone, Victoria, and I know we spoke a little bit about this before the episode began, but along this journey, because you've been doing this, like you said, for over 20 years, what do you think the most exciting thing that you've done in your investing journey has been?
This was a really difficult question, and I had actually a couple of different things came to mind. One thing was just taking the step to create my company was a big step for me. And that was but that's a personal thing. It's something that I never thought I would ever do. And when I did it, it's like, oh, well, I'm glad I did it. I should have done it long ago. But I would say, that's kind of like not so exciting for most people.
No, don't downplay that. That's awesome, especially as a woman investor that is a very big LP, GP. Okay, that's massive. So do not downplay that. That's huge.
But the other thing, I thought about this a lot, but the other thing I thought was what was really exciting, but was equally, if not more, scary at the same time, was making my first loan that was well over $1 million.
Wow.
And I remember sitting at the bank going, oh my gosh, because I had to call the bank a couple of days before and I said, I want to give you a heads up that I'm sending a wire that's for this much money. And the response was, oh, okay. And then they're like, oh, we have to get all these people signed or lined up so that they can approve it. So that was pretty exciting. But like I said, it was equally
scary.
Not more scary.
Okay,
yeah, I can imagine though.
Did you get paid back?
Pardon me?
Did you get paid back? Did it go okay?
It went all right. What we did was we actually structured that one a little bit differently, where it was paid back in different chunks, and I'm happy.
Good.
So
that's awesome. I can't imagine. That's like that kind of makes my gut kind of turn a little bit that you're going like wiring that much money at one time, because also I would not even have thought to probably. I guess I'm just so used to like not being in those bigger figures that I probably wouldn't have even thought to like call the bank and be like, hey, by the way, I'm going to come in and wire this. You know what I mean? Like I probably would have just shown up and be like, I need to send some money and I'm not really sure if I'm allowed to do it at this point, kind of thing. So that's like, just like thinking through that I would have been nervous as well too, but that is kind of exciting. What a big deal that is, I'm assuming maybe the largest deal you've done by yourself.
Yes.
And that was the first one?
No, that was not. No. That's the
first one that was over that threshold.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Got it. I was like, I thought you would have started a little smaller. That makes sense.
No.
Wow.
No.
Did you ever think, looking back on like where you started in corporate America, that you would ever be in the position that you were in that day? to do that.
No, never in my wildest dreams. And I want to say something else that you said something that just made me think of this. Kind of getting back to corporate America. I was making six figures in corporate America, and the job that I had a bonus structure where I would make a 20% bonus. But again, the bonus amount that was allocated to me depended on how the department did, how I did as a person, whatnot. But hypothetically, let's say I was making $100,000 and my bonus was $20,000. If I worked hard all year long and everybody in my department hit all their objectives, and so I qualified for the 20% or $20,000 bonus, I was at that point several times in my career. And I was like, oh, I made, my 20% bonus. Now that if I make $20,000 in a deal, unless I put in $40,000 and that's a 50% return, to me, it's just like, I can do that. It's nothing.
You can do it in your sleep now, right?
Pardon me?
You can do it in your sleep now.
Well, yeah, it's like I don't have to wait one time a year to get that bonus. I can do that every deal I do, or I can do better with that every deal I do. And I do more than one deal a year. So I should have, there were reasons why I stayed in corporate America, but if I would have known then what I would have known now, I probably would have left a long time ago. And so.
But how do you explain that to someone? Like when you are conditioned coming out of college and you're conditioned to, even before that, right? You're conditioned, you come out of school, got to go to college, and then you're conditioned through college, got to get out of college, got to get a job. And then you're conditioned in your job to make the company perform well. How do you break that conditioning on a lot of people? How do you have that conversation? And with that exactly how you laid it out. Like that's the best way and the most simplest way that you could lay it out, right? Is that we can do that multiple times over by continually investing, but it just takes somebody willing to take that risk and go after that. And it's a hard mentality to break, but once you break it, it does open up and give you that freedom to live the life you want to live without restraints on, who you're working for, or, you're no longer working for the company to make them better. You are now working for yourself, for your family, and you are creating wealth that goes beyond you at that point, right? And it's not wealth that's adding to a corporate fund. So
what I would say to those people who may not understand it is just ask them a question. How many people do you know who have been laid off or fired from a corporate job for one reason or another? They decide to move their headquarters somewhere else, or they're downsizing, or whatever it may be. It's like, so if you want to have your destiny, your life at somebody else's hands who they don't care about you as a person, you're just I call it a butt in a chair. That make that your decision. Or if you want to take control and probably grow faster, stronger, bigger by yourself, you make the decision rather than have it be somebody else's decision.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll understand that because, maybe their parent, if they're young, maybe their parent got laid off when they're 45 or 50. And it's so hard to find a new job when you're achieve a certain age. Maybe it's a brother or sister that maybe they're just not happy in corporate America.
Well, and
absolutely.
And I have a friend who talks about this a little bit, and he said, I stayed with corporate America because of the security, but it was a fallacy because at a moment's notice,
that's right,
it was gone.
They are absolutely correct.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
And that's exactly why I got into real estate, 20 years ago, because 20 years ago, the company I worked for was threatening all these layoffs. And I thought, okay. And I kind of knew I was secure because I knew I did well in my job. But they were my friends. they got the pink slip and they're like, what am I going to do? And like from a Thursday, the company always notified us on a Thursday. From Thursday to Friday, they're like, what am I going to do? Like, they're like, oh, my whole world is upside down. And I thought, I don't want to be that person where the rug is pulled out from under me. I want to start building my plan now. So I started buying real estate. I just would buy 1 or 2 properties, thinking I was doing great with 1 or 2 properties. And then I thought, you know what, I really need to kind of ramp this up where my day job is a lot less and my hobby of real estate is a lot more. And then when that light bulb switched and I started going the other way, and I realized I could do more by depending upon myself, then your whole world changes. Your whole outlook on everything changes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. And making the transition out from, again, like from my husband and I, we both left our W-2 jobs and we do this full time now. That was just exactly what you're saying. Like, you know, but combating the, you don't have a 401k, combating that you don't have security and all of that. But it was that mentality shift that we had to do, even if no one else, you know, that's behind us, even though they're supporting us and they don't understand, even if they don't understand it, you know, moving forward, it was for us to be able to break that mentality and go forward. And now our retirement plan looks like property. Our retirement plan to us looks like a broken down house that we're going to go in and flip, right? That smells like money and it smells like wealth to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so that's what we like to tell people. But yeah, so we want to be respectful of your time, Victoria. So we do have one more question that we do want to ask you, just so that people can find you and connect with you. But before that, Carrie, did you have any last questions?
No, I loved chatting with you, and thank you so much for all of your insight.
No, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Absolutely. We're so grateful for you, Victoria. And this has been so eye-opening from your side of the investment. And we do hope to have you back on, and maybe we can discuss some future, things you're working on and maybe how you've diversified even more. So how can people connect with you through social media or other platforms?
Well, basically, I'm on LinkedIn. I think everybody's on LinkedIn. Or just send me an email. It's Lone Wolf Lending. And I'm at yahoo.com. I tried Gmail. I didn't like it. And it's LOAN Wolf, not.
Yes, Lone Wolf, LOAN
Yes.
Wolf Lending at yahoo.com.
So, yeah, we're just.
And we'll be sure to put that in the show notes as well.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you having me. It was fun. It was. I enjoyed meeting you virtually, Carrie.
So nice to meet you.
One of these days we'll meet in person.
I hope so.
Yes, absolutely. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, Victoria.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.